Hello, and welcome back to Cartoon Everything, the podcast. Today we're talking with the amazing and wonderful Joanna Davidovich.
Joanna is a cartoonist and animator who has had an amazing career working on animated TV shows, animated movies, and making her own independent animated shorts. She is a joyful cartoon character herself with an encyclopedic knowledge of animation history, and it was a blast talking to her about cartoons.
We had a great time. She's also a wonderful character designer, does some really cool comics on her website. We had a wonderful time talking with her. I'm sure you'll enjoy it as well.
Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Kelly.
It's so good to see you.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
So welcome to Cartoon Everything. This is a podcast that wants to talk about the art of cartooning, whether it is animation or comics or indie comics or caricature or comic strips, cartooning in all its forms. And we want to talk to the cartoonists who are doing it now about who the cartoonists were, who impacted them and affected them and shaped them, how you decided to break into it, how you're doing it. And we're so happy that you're here with us to talk.
Well, that's a lovely concept for a podcast because cartoons, it's not just one medium. Like you said, like cartoon is just, it's like I don't even know what to call it. It's just like a way of looking at life. And
Exactly.
there's so many mediums that encompass cartoon. So yeah, I like the idea and I'm excited to talk about this stuff with you.
Yeah, it was one of the things that when Chris and I met we were both in an MFA program together, that it's an art form that doesn't get discussed as much as like an art form. Mm-hmm. So, and it does, there's so much overlap, right? Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's a way of seeing, it's a way of taking in life, a way of interpreting it, and then it comes out on your paper. What were the things that you remember? The things that really like hit you as like, oh, that's cool. I like
my most vivid memories from childhood are just cartoons. Like there's things that I hadn't seen in years and I revisit as an adult and I have that Ratatouille moment where like back in time and I feel those feelings again. Like there's a lot of weird stuff I remember, like The Mouse and His Child, Last Visible Dog. And oh, you have a look of recognition?
No, a look of I've never what?
Oh, there's this.
Tell me more, yeah.
There's this movie, I think it's from the 70s, based on the book The Mouse and His Child, about a toy mouse with a little child mouse hooked at the hands together, and they go on a journey together. And there's this concept called The Last Visible Dog, where it's this can of dog food where, you know, like the Land O'Lakes lady is holding the Land O'Lakes with her on the label. And then like you keep zooming in, like where's the last visible Land O'Lakes lady? But it was this dog food with the dog food.
Yeah.
The label was like, you know, like you keep going in and they did this bit of that animation where you're zooming in and zooming in and zooming in. And it's this endless cycle of this dog food label of like this cartoon dog, like dog food. And you just keep going into it and into it. And I just remember as a kid, like, I was just like mesmerized by it and just something terrifying and horrifying and wonderful about it as well. And it's just like one of those weird things that kids' movies used to do. They used to just break your brains as a child by giving you these images that were not necessarily inappropriate or not necessarily dark, but just deep and like weird. And that's something like we can talk later about what I feel like we've lost in cartoons. And it's something like that where it's just there's that kind of startling imagery that stays with me. And also funny imagery. Like there's so much stuff, like even small gestures, small little moments from like Lady and the Tramp, where I hadn't seen Lady and the Tramp like for years and years. I watched it for the first time when my kids were born and we were just going through the old VHSs and I'm like, I remember every frame of this scene and I hadn't watched it in so long. And like there's a lot of
what scene is it? Because that's literally my favorite Disney movie.
it's such an underrated one. It's
like
I think it has the most beautiful animation.
Mm.
And
what's the scene that like hit you?
You know, it's a silly one. It's the beaver. The beaver.
Oh, right, with the
it's like
dog muzzle.
With the muzzle, when he chomps it off, it's just like there's something about that. The way he does it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not significant. It's not important, but it was just, it got me. And also, what got me emotionally about that movie was the beginning when Lady was a puppy, and her climbing the stairs, like the agony of each stair that she climbs.
Yeah,
like that really shook me as a kid. Like I was desperate to like pick up poor puppy Lady and take her upstairs.
Yeah.
And when she falls asleep at the foot of the Jim Deere and Darling's bed, then I feel like I can breathe now. She's fine. She's safe, you know? And like, what else stuck in my brain?
Well, the one that you mentioned from the 70s, I have never heard of.
Oh, there's a lot of, it was from Disney Channel, aired a lot of weird stuff from the 70s in the 90s and, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And there's also,
look that up.
Yeah, there's also a movie called The Point, which,
yeah,
it's a weird movie. And like, I can't tell you a thing about it except that I was just mesmerized and just like unsettled by it. Phantom Tollbooth. The terrible trivium with his faceless, when he's walking towards the camera and he has no face. I'm like, it's just this horrifying thing it's not necessarily like terrible imagery to show a child or wrong in any way, but it just stuck with me. Gosh, like I could literally talk about this for days, the stuff that stuck with me.
Yeah, and that's very, like, I feel like you're mentioning things that were not quite as obvious. They weren't the things that I thought that you were going to mention.
Oh, the Raggedy Ann and Andy movie with the goop.
Raggedy Ann, yeah. Such a, like, I remember that, like such a, like, wild ride. It's such a disconcerting movie for it to be Raggedy Ann and Andy, right?
Yeah, the 80s was tough on kids. It made us tough. And there's also the My Little Pony movie too. It also had a goopy thing in it, like the purple. I remember it's been forever since I literally have not seen it since I was a kid, but I remember like being terrified of that goop.
Yeah.
And but yeah, what other things did you think I was going to mention?
I thought we were talking more about like your Saturday morning viewing. That's what I thought. I was thinking like you were going to start saying like, oh, this is what I took in. Like on a Saturday morning,
I could talk about that too.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, I think it's interesting that the things that stuck with you were kind of the things that only animation can do, right? Yeah. Where you actually like were watching this, going like, wow, like that imagery. Like there are reasons why things are animated, or at least in our lifetime. Right. There were things that the animation, it was used because there was no other way to make this imagery happen and to come alive. So I think it's cool that like those are the things like when you were young that you were actually going like, wow.
Yeah.
This is blowing my mind.
like a lot of Don Bluth as well. Yeah. Like Charlie. Yeah. Like that I could just, if I meet someone named Charlie, like in my head, I'm hearing, Charlie, you can never come back.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And like that really got me. Just watched that with my girls not too long ago, and like I am a mess. I am just I that movie destroys me. It's so weird and good. But Saturday morning cartoons, I can still recite every favorite cartoon I ever had, like in chronological order. Like from when I was really, really small, like shows no one else remembers. Sometimes there's an animated Little Shop of Horrors cartoon. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember it being good. I just remember it had like really unusually bright colors for its time, and it like had fun, unusual designs for its time. Because I also, as much as I love the designs of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, I hated the shows because they never moved. And I like to see characters move And that's why I gravitated to Looney Tunes, because that was the only thing that was shown during like Saturday mornings and weekday afternoon blocks that actually had wonderful animation until the 90s Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that, and Gummy Bears were the only, Looney Tunes and Gummy Bears were the first early shows that where the characters actually moved.
We're moving, right? Yeah.
And like after that, Beetlejuice, the animated series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. That's
show.
such good design.
Yeah, it's such appealing design, fun, creepy, cute. And I didn't even know there was a live action movie. I just knew about the cartoon. And then later, I think my sister.
Funny.
Yeah, my sister was teasing me. She was like, Beetlejuice is the bad guy. I'm like, no, he's not. He's funny and nice, and he takes Lydia on adventures.
And now he's so likable on the cartoon.
He is. He's really likable in the cartoon, which makes me wonder, like, why'd they go in that direction? Because when I eventually saw the movie, I was so horrified. I was like, that's not Beetlejuice. He's
marketability. That's why. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I hope that I don't actually know if the cartoon did well. Do you know?
I don't know. I know it has a lasting effect. So many people love it, and so many people, mention it as a huge visual impact. That cartoon.
Yeah.
And
but after that,
I do notice when I see people cosplaying as Lydia and Beetlejuice at Comic-Cons, more often I tend to see them cosplaying as the animated versions. Maybe because they're just simpler, more dynamic designs, but I do see that.
I think.
Yeah.
Lydia in the movie didn't really have distinct costumes. She was just like a big gauzy black thing.
Right.
And it's like her bangs are recognizable, but unless, you happen to look like her, then it's not really going to read. Winona Ryder, sorry. Her name escaped me for a second.
Right.
But Lydia from the cartoon, she's got that cool spiderweb caftan and tail that goes up like this, and the it's very distinct design. And I would if I was going to cosplay as Lydia, I'd choose that too.
Yeah. So
there's.
No, go ahead, Chris.
There's definitely maybe kind of a cult audience for the cartoon. I think, even though it's.
I think as time marches on and we get more and more nostalgic about things in the past and sort of compare it to what we have now and just I don't think it's just nostalgia. I think it was better back then because you see younger people are also gravitating towards the old stuff too. And the Beetlejuice cartoon was wonderful, and I'm glad that people are appreciating it now. And it's like, did Tim Burton have anything to do with the design of that show?
Good question. Not that I know of.
They seem inspired a little bit by his art style, but made it appealing and not terrifying.
Yeah. It is telling, though, that you were able to get into it without having any knowledge that the movie even existed, though.
Yeah, I liked it for itself. I liked it just solely on the main title. The main opening is one of the all-time best opening titles for anything ever. And I know it has a couple different versions, but they are all just so good. Oh man, that was a hook for a lot of cartoon shows. What the opening song was, and the opening animation. And the opening animation was always so juicy and good, and the show never lived up to the opening title. But it didn't really matter because you were just sold by how good that opening was. I can't tell you how many times I watched the opening to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because it's really good, and I didn't care about the show. I just liked I liked the theme song, and
with Thundercats as well.
Thundercats was so good.
Yeah.
And it's just, why can't a little bit of that main title energy go into the show? Right. I know it's expensive, but just a little bit, maybe one or two scenes.
They probably worked a year on the opening and weeks on the episode.
Yeah, that is something I really miss about modern times. We've completely abandoned the opening title sequence, the main title for shows in general, and it's rare to see a really good one. I like cartoons because it tells a story quickly. Like a character, you look at it, you get the character, and it communicates. Yeah. And people who work in animation, I think they do so well in live action because they know how to communicate with imagery, which is something that a lot of live action folk have, they don't care about. They just don't care about like silhouette. They don't care about gesture. They don't care about interacting with the space that the characters occupy. Like, because all the things that have to be completely intentional with animation.
Right. Economy of timing, and too, like that's like your
and
thing,
timing,
like pacing, like the whole thing. Yeah, you kind of have that all because everything is like an animation. Every single part is so important. You know?
And there's nothing on screen that somebody didn't decide to put there. There's nothing accidental, especially with 2D animation. Like I think the computer fills in a lot with CG. Which is why I don't feel as emotionally connected to most CG projects. But with 2D, like everything has a purpose. Somebody meant for it to be there. Whether it's good or bad, somebody meant for it to be there. It took somebody effort to put that, to draw that guy off model. It still took effort.
Yeah.
And that's why it's there. And it's also, I think, the broadness of cartoons in general, the way it has to communicate immediately. So there's like bigger gestures, bigger expressions. And this is something that people have been fleeing from with regards to live action for ages and ages. Because my favorite era of movies and films, the 40s and 50s, where people could still mug at the camera and it doesn't feel, I mean, I guess maybe some people think it's cheesy, but when Jim Carrey mugs, and especially his later movies, it feels like a little like you want to back away. But we just watched The Court Jester with Danny Kaye, and his performance is very broad. Right. It's very vaudevillian, but it reads like a cartoon. And this is how a lot of performances used to be. They're playing to the back row of the theater.
Right.
And I like that. Right. And I miss that. And there's a place for subtlety. I love some good subtle performances, but cartoon is not about subtle. That's how I see it. It's about communicating quickly to everybody.
Do you remember when you started drawing? And if when you started drawing, you were kind of inspired to draw when you were young by the cartoons that you were watching?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I tried Animaniacs. I like in my, as long as I've been talking about the cartoons that inspired me, I never quite got to Animaniacs, which shows you how many.
Animaniacs for an hour. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
yeah. I just started. I was always a drawer. I like drawing, but when Animaniacs happened, I drew the Warners over and over and over and over and over again.
That had a good opening. Animaniacs had a great opening too.
One of the absolute. It's so perfect, and yeah, I never got tired of that opening. It gets you so pumped, and you can compare. Not to get political, but with the reboot opening, they're basically they're like frame for frame trying to match it, and it does not have the energy. It does not have the same charm, and it's like they can't replicate it. It was so good.
So, what are you drawing before that? Because I know that's a huge inspiration to you. I know how much you love Animaniacs, but like, were you already somebody who was like drawing? Or?
I was known as the person in class who could draw.
Right. So that's, exactly.
So it was always something.
You were the art kid.
Yeah, I drew a lot of flamingos with sunglasses. That's what in my brain. I guess that's growing up in Florida, that influence.
Yeah.
A lot of mermaids and flamingos with sunglasses.
Yeah. But then do you think it was seeing the Animaniacs that kind of said, like, oh, no, this is what I want to do? Like, this
because Animaniacs is where it just occurred to me that people got paid to make it, and that could be a career. Yeah. And like, I was like, oh, duh, like, what else am I going to do with my life? Of course, that's what I'm going to do in some capacity. It's all still kind of hazy. Yeah. But I got to work. I got busy drawing the Warners. And around that time, the internet happened. And so I found an audience for my drawings as well. So I joined like my parents should have been looking over my shoulder. I should not have been joining an IRC chat when I was that young. But luckily there was no creeps there, and they all really liked my art. And it was a wonderful thing to be able to post my art and be in a place where people were really supportive and they were always excited for me to post new stuff. And that really kept me feeling encouraged and to keep going.
That's amazing. So yeah, that's not, I am older than you, and I grew up when we did not have the internet, and that's amazing to think about a young artist having that. Raising my own kid, who's an art kid, had that. And I saw with deviant art and the whole, it was almost just like, it was a natural part of their art experience. So it's cool that you were doing it when it was just starting. So it's a neat thing to think about, that was part of your journey, was getting that feedback and also being comfortable also with promotion from the get-go. Right?
I guess so. Like, I've sort of considered it my job, strangely enough, for a while, that if I didn't have anything to post, I would sort of get anxious. And I was like, I got to post something. I got to, I got to put this out there. Like, oh my gosh, it's been a day. I'm going to, I don't know what I thought would happen, but I just started to feel like I had to do it. I don't know. Maybe I was just always been a bit OCD, but that was my project for a good many years. And there's one thing I wanted to mention about the internet. Oh yes, it was really a wonderful thing to be able to tap into a pool of people who really cared about cartoons, because there was no one, even among my friends, of whom there were precious few, who cared about cartoons to any degree similar to me. Like, they tolerated me and my cartoonishness, but everyone was like, yeah, that's fine. And like, I remember trying to explain to my parents the difference between 2D and CG, and they're like, so the Lion King is CG? And like, no. And this was, there was just the one Lion King. I was like, no, it's clearly drawn. How can you not see the difference?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're like, well, if there's shadows, it means it's CG. And like, oh, unless they're drawn shadows. But you can tell the difference, right? Tell me you can tell the difference.
It's so clear.
I know.
That's funny. That's at this time, were you starting to draw your own characters at all for like putting it out there?
I started drawing my own characters in high school. I sort of did a terrible comic strip that I think has been scrubbed from the internet because it's very crude and embarrassing. But it was sort of a combination of all the things that I liked. I really liked, like, from very early on. I like the same as when I was 10. It's embarrassing. But I really liked big band music and old movies and old TV shows, and I loved cartoons too. And so I made a comic strip about a bunch of animal characters who are vaguely 1940s-ish, who start a nightclub, and they want to like put on a show. Like, hey gang, let's put on a show,
Right.
and fix up the old tumble down nightclub.
Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, but
yeah, like kind of that kind of energy.
Right,
and there's
yeah.
gangsters, and there's a rich heiress in disguise, like all those tropes, and it was terrible. But
so when you went, when you were looking to go to school, did you go and study animation?
yes, yeah, I had one person told me about SCAD, and then I was like, SCAD it is. I did no research. I didn't even bother to see how much CalArts cost.
Right.
Sorry. And I was just like, it's near. I can sell that to my parents.
Mhm.
I can do it. They have an animation program. So I ended up going to a different college because my parents didn't want me to go 4 hours away. They wanted me to stay more local.
Right.
And the deal was, if I still wanted to go to SCAD after a year, we'd make that work. So I went to SCAD my sophomore year, and I went to ACA my freshman year, and it was just, no disrespect, but it was, how some people are like artists, like
Capital A.
I'm an artist, and like people who like cartoons, are like, yeah, I'm an artist, but I'm like snobbish about whoopee cushions and anvils.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
like I don't know. I just really didn't fit in with that school. So I was happy to go to a place where there was possibly more weirdos like me. And there was some lovely weirdos there, and had a wonderful, wonderful experience at SCAD. Except that some parts were terrible. I shouldn't be too positive, because it cost so much money, and it's just not worth it. I used to be cagey about saying, like, oh, maybe you have to weigh the costs and benefits, but especially where the job market is right now, like, this tuition is ridiculous and not worth it for like just learn from the masters on the internet. Sorry, I had to insert that right there, because I did have a great time at SCAD, but had the resources been available then that are available now, I probably would not have ended up going.
I think it's a fascinating time that we're in. I know we're bouncing all over timelines, but I do think, like, it's a fascinating time we're in now, because you can learn so much
and learn from the greatest masters of our time. And they're just out there. So, like, I talked to some former Disney guys, and they're kind of like, no one really cares what we have to say. Like, maybe I'll put some lessons out there. People are starving for it. Like, people, like, students are so hungry to learn. Well, I mean, like, the students that I've met, they just want guidance and to be, pointed in the proper direction, because that sort of mentorship system that had been in place for so long, while it was very small, it was a really solid pipeline for creating the next generation of animation masters. But that sort of got broken around the transition to CG.
Right.
And all of these like old masters are out there just like with all their knowledge, like who wants some knowledge and experience, and it's like $200 for all these amazing classes.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so accessible. So you're right. This is a bonkers time.
It
to
is.
be
And
learning.
I'm in my third semester now of teaching teaching art in college. And I was one of the things I wanted to talk about with you too, is like, I went and I taught an intro to animation class where we had the students working on paper, which was why I was brought into the class. And then they transitioned into working on the computer. But I had moments where I had like a lump in my throat talking to kids who so desperately want to get into animation, and you're like, you want them, like, yeah, do it. And then one student at the end of the semester, this is last semester, said, well, I am just going to go indie. Like, that is like, I'm not going to stop, and I'm just going to go like indie. I'm not going to worry about what's going on in the studios. I'm just going to make it and put it out there. And I was like, go.
Yes.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
I know. I've just came from the Animation Y'all convention, where I talked to a lot of students, like all at once, who were at various degrees of insane amounts of panic about the state of the industry.
Yeah.
And it's such a sad thing, because, you want to work in the Disney reluctant dragon era, where it's like a wacky student. You want to work at Termite Terrace. You want to make the Disney Afternoon and Fox Kids, like all of these things that were so special and important. But it's just not there. And it's not there. It's not just that it isn't there. It hasn't been there for so long. It's like a ghost of a memory. Yeah. And nobody really realizes that or acknowledges it even. Until recently, when it's just, there's no hiding the fact that the old studio ways are just absolutely
gone.
They're gone, and they're not coming back. No. So indie, like, if you have ideas, that student is just like, yes, go do. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for an invitation. Just make it, for God's sakes. Just make something.
It would be exciting to see what happens down the line, because in comics, so Chris's world, Chris makes indie comics. So in that world, like, the whole indie comic thing has had like a slow build, over the years to becoming its own movement. And of course, there's always been indie animators, but not like a large number of them, right? So it would be cool to see that, especially with like Flo winning the the
Oh,
Academy
yeah.
Award, right? It's almost like proof, like you can find ways to do it, you know.
I wanted to bring up flow so early in the conversation, but I was like, I can't open up that kind of worms. Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, part of having a good chat is it kind of goes where it wants to go.
It
So,
flows.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah, it goes with the flow, right?
the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like all the indie animators of the past, like you got your Bill Plimptons, your Pat Smiths, and they didn't have an outlet, like a way to make money, like they didn't have a direct line to the audience. They had to do the film festivals, they had to do the circuits, and hope that they would get picked up by a distributor or like make some home video VHS. Like, I don't know how they made money, honestly, except for Pat Smith doing Zoloft, which is still like, I want to animate for a drug company at some point, because like when I heard how he did that and how it was just like such an insane amount of money, I'm like, yes, I will give me a Zoloft. I want Zoloft. But today, now there's such you talk directly to the people that are your market, and it's amazing and scary.
Yeah, it is amazing and scary, but it also has some like real world kind of proof that it's possible. And the way that money works is they need to see, like, the people with the money need to see it, you know. They're never gonna, unless they see proof, they're never gonna do, you know. So it's like now there's like completely undeniable proof that an independent animator can make something that's not only great, but also like so, like, Chris, did you see it? Did you see Flow yet?
No.
The last we talked, I know you hadn't seen it. Yeah, because it's wordless. Like, that's
Right.
the thing that like blows my
Yeah,
mind.
there's too many of these great movies. Some I can put on when I'm drawing, but if it's something I really want to watch and pay attention to,
You have to watch.
Keep having to put it off. So
it's not something you can put in the back. Well, you know what? You can put it in the background because it has a cool soundtrack and you just sort of chill to it.
Right.
But you won't get the movie.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure I'll do that after I've seen it at least once.
Yeah.
Then I can just keep putting it on. But
my daughter absolutely loved Flow. She just turned 10, and I'm just thrilled to pieces that she responds to that kind of movie. My youngest was really upset by the ending, and it took her a while to calm down. And it was like, look at the post-credit scene. Look at the post-credits. Everything's fine.
Right.
But it's a wonderful thing, because not only is it indie, but it can prove like you don't need to spend $150 million on some animation, which makes me so mad about how the industry has like transmogrified. You promised that going to CG was going to save money. You made Lion King for $67 million.
Yeah.
I maybe I'm a little wrong, but it was around that ballpark. And so you said, we're going to save money by going to CG. And then all you saw were budgets explode and balloon. And there's so much waste and waste and waste. And now with Flow, it's just like, it can be simple. Animation can be, it's expensive, but you can make it with a reasonable budget if you just let the movie maker make a movie. None of these endless notes and revisions and rejiggering this and
no celebrities, no pop culture,
celebrities, no party dance sequence that lasts for 20 minutes.
Gosh, no, I think that's I will say in recent years there's been some really good animated movies, and then there's been some really bad animated movies. But like this movie was kind of, and I hope it makes people start to realize that the ways of doing animation, the ways of having storytelling, there's so many more ways than the formula that's kind of grown.
And it all comes down to connecting with a character. The character communicates. You can tell what those animals are thinking, because it's not brilliant animation. Let's just call it what it is. It's pretty crude, but it doesn't need to be better for it to communicate. It still communicates.
Yeah.
And like I regard myself as a big animation snob because I have such strong opinions about so much. But I'm not a snob with regards to having a certain level of quality for it to be good. Like, animation is good if it says something to you.
Right.
If it's not disposable, if it's not just distraction. And flow is something so personal and like speaks directly to your heart.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that so much about it. And I love also reading, I can't pronounce his name, Gintz Zablons.
Right. His Instagram feed.
Yeah, his Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah.
I love his posts about how he developed the movie. And I actually went back and watched his previous film, Away, which is even more crude, but has the same feeling. It is a good movie.
Oh, good.
Even with all the limitations of the animation that he's working with. The guy made it himself. A one-man movie.
Right.
Himself.
That's
and
awesome.
Music and sound and everything. And he walks through the choices that he makes is not because he's some incredible auteur. He works with the resources that he has. He's very economical. But even working within those boundaries, he understands that you have nothing without a connection with the audience, without that character speaking to you. And that is cartoons. That is animation to me. That's what a cartoon does. They speak so directly to the audience in a way nothing else can. And I wish we had more. I wish we had more cartoons. Cartoons.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, hopefully they'll learn that lesson, at least for a while.
Maybe.
As a result of flow.
It's Hollywood didn't learn its lesson after Godzilla -1. And after that,
right.
I don't know what kind of a sledgehammer to the face they need to like understand. Like, Godzilla -1 is not a success because it has Godzilla in it. It's a success because we care about the characters and we have a connection with them. And that's what audiences want, to actually feel something, not to just be distracted for an hour and a half or 2.5 hours because movies are so long these days. But yeah, it's like I said I could go on, and I am.
Yeah. Was there a moment when you were leaving college? Like, first of all, what was your first job? Like, what was your first actual animation job?
Well, I had a little bit of print work in high school, which was so exciting. And then in my junior year, I got an internship at Primal Screen, rest in peace. It just recently closed. And that internship was that launched my career, because after college, I went back and worked freelance, then full-time, then back to freelance because they were downsizing even then. And then as a freelancer, I hopped around town at other studios because there were a bunch of studios at that time, and then expanded my network to the LA studios and sort of sustained myself that way for a number of years. I call myself a survivor of the animation industry because I scrapped my way through it. But the first jobs that I had were pretty traditional. I was animating on paper back then. And that was probably the last
gasp of it. Probably.
The last gasp of it. The last opportunity probably I would have had anywhere in the world. Thank goodness I landed there so I could still, learn the craft on paper, which I think is very important. Because digital, you think differently when you work digital.
I completely agree.
Yeah, even the best ones that do digital, my favorites anyway, seem to have a strong background and foundation having started on paper.
Absolutely.
If they, getting those fundamentals solidified makes all the difference.
Digital has...
Going back... Sorry.
I was going to go off on my thing. You go ahead.
I wanted to, before we get too much further, you mentioned doing comic strips and stuff in print. Did you have any, aside from the early animation inspiration, did you have any like comic strips or manga that you were reading that made you want to do comic strip stuff?
Oh, Calvin and Hobbes.
Hey.
I was mad about Calvin and Hobbes. Absolutely loved it. And there were some early web comics too, like I think Ozzie and Millie. It felt a lot like Calvin and Hobbes, except with anthropomorphic animals. Kevin and Kel. I was a big fan of that one as well. I did not get into manga until much later. I did not like it as a kid. I tried really hard to get into, Sailor Moon because of like Toonami style stuff, because of all the other kids that I was hanging around in school. If they liked animation, they liked anime and read manga. And so I tried really, really, really hard to like it. But they had good animation for the things that I was least interested in, the action scenes. That's where they had their animation budget. But I cared about the character interactions. I liked the, personality animation. And that's where anime is very, very weak. They don't have great personality animation because that's when they save on their budget. And just like, I hate that just too open mouth, closed mouth for the lip flap. I hated it so much. And also, I thought there was just terrible story problems with Sailor Moon. And I bring up Sailor Moon because I tried so hard to like it and I just couldn't. And I
have never watched Sailor Moon. I've actually looked at the books more than I've ever watched. Yeah, I know it's a phenomenon, and I'm just and I kind of like.
Well, it's just like one thing, 7 colors. Like there's so many franchises that are like it's a thing in 7 to 12 colors, and collect them all. And not to degrade it, because I know that there's lore and story and everything to Sailor Moon, but what really got me was the whole first season was about collecting all the Sailor Scouts. Like, oh, you're actually a Sailor Scout, my friend in my class. And you have your own personal transformation scene, which is beautifully animated, but gets repeated over and over and over and over again.
But that's a trope that's happened. I could name 5 million middle grade chapter books that have done that over and over again. The Rainbow Fairies, the whatever,
yes.
the Mermaid.
It's
just such a trope. Even My Little Ponies is a little bit.
My Little Pony did, but My Little Pony did it really, really well.
Okay.
I love My Little Pony.
It's a pony. So
yeah, it's just because they have very distinct personalities.
Like Applejack, we love Applejack. Yeah.
I could talk about My Little Pony for ages too, because that is the one standout brilliant example of one thing, 7 colors that I think worked really, really well.
They actually got it right.
Yeah. They got it. They really got it right. But with Sailor Moon, what annoyed me is that after slogging through that whole first season, at the end of the season, they all lose their memories. Yeah. And the second season, they start collecting all the Sailor Scouts again.
Oh,
no. I'm out. I can't.
I'm out.
Can't do it.
That's funny. I think it's interesting because you said before, you've never got into Hanna-Barbera. You didn't get into anime for similar reasons. There's a lot of holding, right?
Yeah.
So you're someone, you're like, I want movement. I need
my arcs.
I want to see everything come to life.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense that certain styles didn't hit you where your heart is.
Right.
So yeah. So you want to see the full blown animation. You want to see those characters.
I want to see them. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, they have to have some proof of life there. There's got to be something there. It doesn't need to be brilliant full animation. Right. Like I said, I loved Saturday morning cartoons, but they had to be visually stimulating in some way. Like Beetlejuice and Little Shop of Horrors, and then we get to Gummy Bears, which I think is the first TV show. Well, it's the earliest I can recollect that was animated by TMS, Tokyo Movie Shinsha, which had a beautiful, beautiful full style, very precise technical drawings, and it was just lovely. And they went on to do a lot of stuff for Disney Afternoon and the Fox Kids shows. All the best episodes of Tiny Toons and Animaniacs were TMS. With the exception of Startoons, which I grew to prefer because it had so much more bouncy energy to it. And and also all the Startoons episodes were there's you can tell it's going to be good by the way it's animated. And but yeah, it's and even that lovely television animation is still considered limited animation,
Right.
because there are a lot of holds, but they're hidden well.
Right.
They're like, even with Star Toons, John McClanahan talked about doing a lot of moving holds where they don't quite settle into a final pose. Like, it's not a hard settle in. Like, they sort of ease into that final pose, and it just makes everything feel so much more energetic and alive. What I really can't stand is just, that's why I rejected Flash for so long. I couldn't stand it because it made my least favorite style of animation so much easier to produce. Where it's just mop, 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 hand, hand, mop, 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 hand, hand. And I still find it difficult to watch that kind of stuff. And again, there's always exceptions to that, because I loved home movies as well. Like,
Right.
Oh, sure.
which is like the most ugly and limited
Right.
of the animation scene that's probably ever been, outside of, other cheap stuff that Adult Swim has done. But with the exception to that, is that the drawings were funny to look at. Like,
Right.
that. And I should also mention Rocky and Bullwinkle. I loved Rocky and
You love
Bullwinkle.
Jay Ward, so you're a fan.
Love
of
Jay Ward.
Okay.
And I read the Daryl Van Sitter's book on the Jay Ward studio, and there's a lot of emphasis on how Jay Ward collected artists who could, quote, draw funny.
Funny, yeah.
So it's not that he was looking for the most technically gifted artists or the best, but it's just like, can you draw funny? Because we don't have animation to move funny.
Right.
So we got to make people smile with just the image.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of, it doesn't need to be full animation or beautiful. It can be limited animation, but it has to be communicating something with that still image. Where, like, I have to see something of a personality in there if I'm going to like it. And that's what I didn't get from, what is the other thing I said I didn't like? Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera. Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm not going to argue with you over Hanna-Barbera.
I love the designs. I think they're very appealing. But if you look at Yogi Bear,
yes,
you don't know what he's about. But you look at like Brendan from Home Movies, like with those bug eyes, that nose, like this kid has some issues, and he's probably going to make me laugh.
You don't think Yogi Bear is a little bit like Dean Martin?
Well, I'm just like, if you just saw him, if you just saw the design,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you watched it on mute, you wouldn't really know his personality.
Yeah. I will agree to disagree with you on Hanna-Barbera. But I will say what we do agree on, I think, is if you want to boil it down to drawing, right? So when you say, like, you have to be able to draw funny. And I think that's something that every person who somehow takes in life and is drawing, grows up drawing, turns into someone who wants to pursue art, not just for fun, but actually try to make it a career, your life, even, because there's really no job. You have a life as an artist, right? The path kind of diverges for cartoonists in some way into, can you draw funny or can you draw exaggerated, right? So sometimes it's not necessarily funny, but it is somehow a sense of, like, are you going to take in life and are you going to exaggerate it? So for you, it kind of happened naturally, right? So through falling in love with Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and going off to school, is there like a moment where you can kind of pinpoint where you had like a really big aha moment of and we're kind of like going back a little bit in the timeline of that, of like not necessarily drawing what you see, but drawing what you think of what you see? Was it the flamingo with the sunglasses? Like,
well, it's funny because I wouldn't credit myself to drawing what I see. Like, that's something I had to force myself to do, observe more from life, because that's where the genuine quality of someone's art comes from direct observation. And for most of my youth, I was just copying.
Right.
So
most people, yeah.
I was copying, even with my original stuff, I was copying the artist that I liked. I wasn't really making my own observations. So like the way I understood your question was like, how did I grow into my own stuff?
Your own style, yeah. I guess it is. Like, how did you evolve from? I guess all of us at some point when we start, we're all either copying or working underneath somebody, working in the style of someone else. But then, how did you kind of start to sense that you were building your own way of seeing and drawing?
I still don't have that
Oh,
sense.
yes, you do.
I don't have. Whenever I draw stuff of my own, it's just like whatever shortcut I can think of to communicate the idea. So I guess that looks like a style, but I don't feel very stylish. Or I could say like my development of my own style is still in progress. Like I have my signature character, the girl with a teacup on her head. I draw her different every time. Like I don't have a set way that I draw her, because every time I'm just like trying something a little different, because I want to have, like, how can I make her look more crazy? Like, how can I make her look more manic? And it's like a different trick every time. But I guess I could just say, like, over time, I've stolen enough good ideas from other artists that the way I put them together looks like a style.
Well, I think that's very true of everybody, Chris, don't you? I mean, I think that you also, like, you have when Chris can rattle off every comic book creator since the dawn of time. And you take that all in, and then I always say it becomes like your me soup. Like, those are all your ingredients.
Yes.
But they become something now new, right?
Right. I mean, we all love Bill Watterson, and then eventually you take all your influences and people you love like that, and you just sort of internalize it. It sounds like you're not trying to do any specific style. It's more organic how it comes through, you trying to solve a story problem or just tell a particular gag, or like whether it's in your cool like one-page comics or in an animated sequence. It's more about solving the problem as opposed to making it a specific style.
Yeah. Like, unless I'm asked to directly to draw in like a Bruce Timm style, or try to do like, oh, we want a character that like looks like Steven Silver style, then I'm just trying to solve the problem of how to make the idea, how to sell the idea, and whatever the drawing has to look like in order to do that is what it is. Although I could tell you exactly, whenever I do like hair that comes out and goes, I stole that from Michel Gagne.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like I saw him do you know the story of Rex?
Yeah.
He did that.
Yeah.
I when I looked at that, I just was so focused on that little squiggly hair. I was like, I'm doing mine forever that way. I love it so much.
Oh yeah. Like there's always those little things that you're like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna.
It's just he solved that problem.
Right.
That part of that simple visual language that he made so elegant. It's like, I'm not even going to bother to try and improve on it. He's perfect.
I think from the outside looking at your work, and at least knowing you for, was since 2014, like, I feel like there is, and it could be, right, you couldn't ask your parents this who didn't know that Lion King was in CGI, but another artist can look at your work and I can see proportions in the way that you draw that I think, like, ratios of ways that you put things together, so your characters together, that I'm like, like, that's recognizable as that's your design system, and I think that that's it. And maybe it is like those of us who are doing it, we can't perceive it because we're just doing it all the time, and we're constantly always trying to get better, all of us,
or trying to break out of the comfort zone. Because I know it's like, when you mention proportions, like, oh my gosh, I have the same proportions over and over and over. I cannot break out of it unless I'm like really strenuously is like, I am going to shrink the head and lengthen the body so it has human proportions. And that's why I need to do more life drawing.
Yeah, I think we all always have to.
Yeah.
More like,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
yeah. Do you find that you had certain mentors like along the way that you
Oh,
can think of?
I always dreamed of having a mentor. It never quite happened in my youth, but I think now I have like a couple of the old guys that I've reached out to. I mentioned how much I love Startoons, so a few years ago I reached out to John McClanahan, who's he is Startoons,
Mm.
and just asked him questions, and we've become friends, and I've got to work on a little bit of stuff with him, and just seeing how he approaches drawing, and how he thinks of his own art, which is he's so ridiculously humble. It's just I wanted to have like a little bit of a sense of how wonderful his art and creations are and have meant to so many people over the years. But yeah, I guess I could say that I have like a couple of mentorship relationships now
Mhm.
where I don't know if I don't know what it would have looked like if I'd had that growing up. But yeah, I always thought it was going to be that way, where somebody takes you under their wing. But that's what the studio system was for. It was for creating mentors, and like even in school, there was never a teacher who was like, "Let me show you how it's done." I had some wonderful teachers, but they are all kind of, I don't know, they were just like, "Let's see what you can do," instead of like making me like I was a willful student. I didn't do the flour sack assignment. I just like,
Mm.
I don't want to animate a flour sack. I want to animate a character, not understanding that the point of the assignment is to
Right.
give personality to something that is not a character.
Right.
I just wanted to get right down to it, so I just drew like characters to animate, and my teachers didn't push back on it. They let me boogie, which was great and terrible. Like, I don't know, like, what's the right thing? So yeah, I think that mentorship is really wonderful, but I guess it's not the end of the world if you don't have it in your formative years.
Yeah, no, but you found it now. And I think one of the things that's really great is that if you reach out to the people that you admire and you find that they're actually open, like it's such a
Yeah,
awesome experience.
it really is. Like what I told you, like the internet happened a long time ago, and I started finding all the production art for the shows I'd been obsessed with for ages. And some of the first things I found were the development art for the Tiny Toons cast, and that's how I learned about Dan Haskett. Like, I could not stop looking at these drawings. They were so good. I even thought, like, is this Chuck Jones drawing? Like, they're so appealing. They're so cute. They have so much like rhythm and personality. And like, I didn't have those words at the time. I was just like, I love it. I can't stop looking at these. And I was able to like reach out to Dan Haskett and have conversations with him and talk about appeal. And again, like a super humble guy. So I guess mentorship is something that you have to seek out these days. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's true, right,
Mhm.
Chris?
Absolutely. That's one nice thing about the current times, that people are a little more accessible.
yes,
So if you do see somebody like I just saw John Pomeroy now has a YouTube channel and started his own school, and Bill Plimpton is starting some classes again. But some of these artists, like Kyle Baker, I just saw is doing stuff on YouTube. So you can find people like that you've looked up to and reach out to them on Instagram or something, or at least see them putting stuff out into the world,
Mhm.
and learn stuff. Like in the old days, you'd have to be lucky enough to find out which city they lived in, or hope they went to the same convention you were going to. But now we can literally, find these,
A direct
amazing
line.
artists.
Mhm.
I want to ask you about your experience doing draw-alongs for a while, and how you got into doing that kind of live stream drawing. And
I got into it because somebody at Twitch reached out to me saying,
mm-hmm.
I don't know how they found me, but they said, we want to encourage different kinds of streaming on our platform, and here's how you get set up, and we think it would be a really cool thing for you to do. And I do terrible on Twitch. I do terrible numbers on Twitch, but it got me to start streaming on YouTube as well, because I'm like, well, I might as well like stream everywhere at once, like see where the audience is. And it started out as just something like a novel thing to do, and like, hey, if you want to come and chat, just shout out what you want me to draw and I'll draw it. And I just like, yeah, I'm taking requests. And then it sort of got a little bit more intense, and I had to figure out a system in place, because there's some people who really like it when you draw them stuff for free. And
Right.
and then I started feeling a lot of anxiety and pressure to just do everybody's request. And then I started, like, okay, like I will prioritize tips. If you tip like $1, which turns out to like 50 cents, like then I'll prioritize that drawing. But then now I have to change that up again because it's still a little overwhelming. So it's an evolving process, and I actually have to do one more stream to button up live stream number 50, which is the official count, but there have been little ones in between there. And I've said I'm going to make it to 50, and then I've got to rejigger this whole process because it needs to be better. And I've got an idea for how to do that. So yes, maybe this weekend I'll do that live stream, but it's been a wonderful learning process, and it's really been a way to it's a great exercise. Like the drawing exercise aspect of it has been incredible, because I'm drawing a lot of characters I would have never have tried drawing otherwise. Yeah. Like people come up with really obscure stuff, and like I'm not familiar with like a good chunk of the requests that I'm given. And then other times we go down like weird niche rabbit holes. Like I've drawn Pepper Ann like so many times because people are just like, can you do Pepper Ann holding this? Can you do Pepper Ann in this outfit? I'm just like, but why? Like, why? And it's not just one person. It's like a bunch of people.
Like, I love, like I can say, like the weirdest thing that I love is Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space. Why? Because I was the right age to watch it.
Right.
You know, so it just hit me, and I fell in love with it, and I loved it. I also was an Archie comics fan, so Josie and the Pussycats, I loved the comic book. So it's all like a thing. Like, what hits you and gives you that? Like, oh, I remember being that age, and I remember, you know.
I don't remember Josie and the Pussycats going into space.
Oh, so good. So much better than regular Josie. It's kind of like Josie and the Pussycats and Space Ghost. You know, like it's like this kind of thing of like
were they like superheroes, or were they solving mysteries still?
No, they were just out there trying to find gigs in space, and they would run into different aliens, and there'd be a problem. The spaceship would break down. They'd lose their instruments.
Did you ever watch Homestar Runner?
No.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Do you remember like the weird like joke about the hair metal band Limousine, and the hair band Limousine's weird cartoon pilot? We're Limousine, but we're in space.
That's a great example of simple but funny drawings. Like
very simple but funny.
Strong Bad, like the voices being so great.
Now, thank you, Kelly, because now I get the full joke. It's probably a reference to Josie and the Pussycats in space.
Right, yeah, maybe.
Although I remember the Partridge Family also went to space.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody goes there eventually. Leprechaun went to space. Friday the 13th, Jason went to space. That's the latest version of jumping the shark, because you got to go to space.
Solve the mysteries, form a rock band.
Hilarious. So some of the projects that you've worked on, Chris and I were talking about some of the projects that you have worked on. So the one that we both had questions about, I was telling Chris what an amazing singer you are.
Oh,
so how exciting was it to do animations of Ella Fitzgerald?
Oh, I didn't actually get to animate Ella.
What did you do? Design?
Character design, right?
I did the character design.
The character design is great.
I was really proud of that because it actually had to get approved by the estate of Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we had to get it done like in an afternoon and get it turned around. But I remembered my Ella Fitzgerald CDs growing up had a beautiful caricature of her there. So I looked up that album art and I sort of based it on that. Did some few proportion variations, but I figured if the estate approved that, they'd already approve that my version of it. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like straight up stealing, but I knew what a good jumping point would be. Like I knew what proportionality that they would like, and but yeah, it's Ella, she saved me.
Great.
I loved Ella Fitzgerald so much, like so much that when I try to sing, I don't even bother trying to sing like her. Like I go for like the B and C level big band singers because Ella's so you can't compare. But yeah, it meant a lot to be able to do that.
To work
It
on
really-
that, yeah. How often do you work doing character design?
Oh, it changes. Sometimes I'm doing a lot of boards one year, and then another year I'm doing a lot of like character design and concept development. I mean, not a lot, but that's the bulk of my work. But yeah, it has been a while. The last time I did some character development was for some pitches that I was helping out on, and yeah, just like I do whatever pays me to draw.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
But-
a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's just hard to say exactly what I do the most of because it changes all the time.
Do you have a favorite of like if you had your druthers, what you would spend more time doing?
I like all of it. Like if I
Yeah.
had my druthers, I would just be designing, boarding, and animating my own cartoons. But there's, not many people wanting to pay for that.
Right. That's yeah. And it's also the time, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things, you've been generous with your time already, but one of the things I wanted to touch on, which I think is a kind of a unique thing that I can talk to you about, is being a mom,
Mhm.
being an artist,
Mm.
having time, finding time, making time, managing your time, and especially when you want to work in what is possibly the most time necessary medium, which is animation, right? The most like literally manual labor hours
Mhm.
as an artist is bringing something to life. So, and it's one of the things that because I believe I met you before your first child.
That's true.
So I have been able to stay in contact and observe, right? You have navigated motherhood and being an artist just amazingly. Because it's hard. Oh, well, hey, I know. It's hard. It's very
Well, a
hard.
lot of crashing into the rocks, but still navigating.
Right. Yeah. But it is an accomplishment to hold on to that.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. That
yeah.
means a lot, especially coming from you.
So you have a 10-year-old and the other one is
6.
6. So you still have little ones. So it's still a juggle to do it all.
Yes, and I'm full-time homeschooling as well. So
Wow. Yeah.
that was a big decision because it's like, well, everyone's life is changing now.
Yeah, I don't think you have the ability for a long time to really have any kind of perception of it because you're so in it. When
Yeah,
when
I
you
know.
are in it.
Today is actually my oldest birthday. And
Oh, happy birthday!
We had the party on Sunday, and I said, well, what do you want to do on your actual birthday? And she said, I want to try rock climbing. And this is a big thing because a few years ago, she went to a rock climbing birthday party, and it was not pretty. And the fact that she wanted to try it again, and we went, and she did it, was and she was so proud, and she was so happy, and she wants to get a membership now and like do it all the time. And it made me think that if I can just keep moving in this direction where she's growing and flourishing and coming into herself and being happy, it's like my goal is so simple. I just want everyone to be happy and at peace with themselves. It doesn't mean like we have to be all the time. It's just a general sense of contentment with our lives. And I had to work on myself with that first because I was experiencing a lot of resentment because I like to draw all day.
Right.
And I'm not getting to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes at night, I don't have the energy to stay awake a moment later than I have to.
Mhm.
And so that resentment was bubbling up, and I had to figure out how to get some pressure release, how to make the time, how to assert my own boundaries. And once I started like working on myself, motherhood became a lot easier, and the children became happier. I became a lot happier with what I was able to draw almost every day. And that's why I'm like, I think I'm in the right direction, but I don't know if I'm there yet. But I will say that if my kids ever watch this in the future, I'm very, very happy to be your mother. I love it so much.
Yes.
The best thing in the world. And if I had to never draw another cartoon again for the rest of my life, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
To make you guys happy, but hopefully I don't have to do that because you like cartoons too. Please don't make me stop drawing.
I truly think that it's one of the greatest things, and it doesn't have to be art. It's kids growing up seeing their parents enjoying what they do, right? That's the baseline. Enjoy whatever it is that they have a thing that motivates them, that they love to do. And I only know my own experience with my own kid, but I understood as soon as you said, like, sometimes you build up this frustration because when you're someone who draws, it's a need. You need to do it. It's a drive. It's a compulsion. It's a regulator. It really does. Right. Right. Yeah. It's a moving meditation, and it's a zone, and I need my fix. And if I don't get that fix of my zone, I don't feel good. I feel itchy on the inside. I feel oogie. And, so when you have beings that need you, they need your energy, they need your time, they need your help, they need, everything. You're like, the last thing that is on your list that to get to accomplish is your fix. Is you can't get that. So yeah, it is. I always like the saying, the only way out is through. Right. And it's not that you're ever out
for it.
Right. But I'm not out. I have a kid living near Boston now, doing art, being an artsy fartsy person. And like, I remember my mom saying to me, motherhood never ends. I only worry about you differently now. And now I get that. Right. Now I get that. I'm like, oh, I never hear from my kid. Is that good? Is that bad? Does that mean things are good? Does that mean things are bad?
Means they're having a great time, right?
Right. Well, I think it means things are good. When I get like a little funny joke, or like, oh, I'm at a museum, I saw this piece of art and it made me think of you, Mom. I know you would like this. Or, or even I did get what I call the Academy Award for moms. Is I did get a thank you. Like, college graduation happened, and I got a, Mom, I wouldn't be here, and this wouldn't have happened. Like, if it wasn't for you. And so it happens where you get those moments where you'll be like, yeah, okay. All those hours I didn't draw, they made something else. You're still making something. You're making something else.
It is a creative work.
It is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. Yeah. So, yeah. But I did want to touch on that because I think that's something that, even in a beautiful mess, right? It's still beautiful. Like, even if it's total chaos, with kids, it's still, if you manage to create within that beautiful mess, it's amazing. It really is. Yeah.
And I like what you said earlier about how important it is for kids to see their grown-ups enjoying what they do, because we are their future. So what kind of future are we showing them if we're like, oh, I'm always stressed out all the time and I'm not snappy, just like, they don't want to grow up to be that.
Yeah.
So like, you get to make your own decisions until you have kids. And then and then you get to create whatever you want to create. And I guess that also loops back into being indie, where it's about stop asking for permission and just be and create and having your own willpower to put stuff out into the world. And I hope that I can show my kids how wonderful that is. And like, although I am a little conflicted about them wanting to be artists because it's such a hard life.
Yeah.
I know. How was that a conversation? How did you work through that conversation?
Well, I think there was a moment when I realized I didn't like it. I almost saw it happen. I saw the kid develop into, there was a moment around 10 or 11. So the kid had started drawing and it became, okay, I saw the compulsion happen. I saw the need. I saw where it was happening every day for a good chunk of the day without any prompting, without me having to put out art spot. It just became a thing. And for a little while, probably until about the age of 14, I just kind of observed. And then I went, yep, nothing I can do now. By the age of, I was like, it's all done. It's all done. Set the grind.
And it's hard to explain too how it's so difficult. It's like, no, we're doing something we absolutely love. And we would do this even if people didn't pay us. Yeah. But the problem is people usually don't pay us.
Right.
Exactly.
And then it just, like, you have to be really scrappy and figure out ways to change your trajectory, and just, it's hard to explain to a kid like what that's like to always be like the hungry wolf looking for the next meal.
Yeah. And always, like, my thing is you always have to pivot. Always be prepared at any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a piecemeal construction. It's not just, I do this. Mm-hmm. I create characters every morning from 7 to 5. It's like, maybe sometimes, but then sometimes you got to animate something over here. Sometimes you got to, storyboard, or,
Gosh, it would have been
number
so
of things
simpler if it was just a studio with a job title. Like,
right. The whole thing of having a reliable career is not necessarily anything that we can count on anymore. It's always like, what do I have to do differently now? Okay, I'll do it this differently now. Yeah. What program do I have to learn? Okay, I'll try and learn that program. Looney Tunes movie, the day the Earth blew up.
It
looks
promising. Brilliant animation.
Yeah, looks amazing.
I follow some of those animators, and I've seen some pencil tests. And not only are they address the one thing that I always complain about whenever they redo Looney Tunes. I'm like, where's the big band orchestra? Because you can't have Looney Tunes without big brassy big band, and they have it. And they use Raymond Scott's Powerhouse, and they just have a lot in there that looks so good. And I'm just like, please just low key the Spumco influence. Just like, I can't stand how Spumco is just Warner Brothers now. I just can't stand it. Because I know John Kay was influenced by Bob Clampett, blah 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 blah, but it's just too gross, and gross out humor is not Looney Tunes. So that's my one fear, that A Day the Earth Blew Up will have some gross out humor that just does not belong there, and that takes me out of Looney Tunes. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to that one. I don't look forward to anything, but I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. And so I think like it's a good place to kind of like sum up our talk is about Looney Tunes. And to say that there are things really, in my mind, and I am a big Disney nut, but over the years, Warner Brothers has those are the cartoons of my heart are the Looney Tunes cartoons. It's those things that are just, you can learn from it, you can study it, you can watch it. I think, Joanna, you're a person who keeps a lot of it alive. Lot of like those magical moments and a lot of those elements. When someone says that you draw old, it's actually a really weird way to give you a really high, wonderful compliment, because, there is a magic there in that way of seeing and that way of drawing. Funny.
I hope so. I choose to take it as a compliment for
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I had like the opposite trajectory as you. I was Warner Brothers girl through and through. And then over the years, Disney was like, oh, like I was trying to deny my love of Disney because I thought I had to pick teams as a kid.
You don't.
I-
Yeah.
And then I learned I don't. And so I was able to openly embrace my love of Disney as well. But I still, if I had to pick teams, not that I have to, but if I did, it would be Warner Brothers because there's just something about the chaotic energy, the chaotic good of Bugs Bunny and Chuck Jones, he's my favorite director, which is maybe why I don't like Spumco at all. That's just I don't know. Maybe can we do more podcasts where we talk about
I know
the Disney episode?
The three of us are huge. We all three of us.
We need more. Yeah.
We need a
all
Warner Brothers episode, Disney
huge
episode.
Chuck Jones fans, right? So to just say if there's a number one artist for me, it's Chuck Jones. It's
I agree.
One of Chris's biggest loves too. Like somebody who I always say somebody who could really just distill a personality, his singular personality into a drawing. It's just remarkable.
Yep. Personality.
Yeah, you see his sketches, and he could write. Like, he could tell a story verbally, and entertainingly.
Well, I tell you, one of the most important books of my childhood was Chuck-a-Muck.
Yeah.
I read that so many times.
Yes.
Yep.
It was like a dream come true to have a window into that world.
Right.
And to learn more about the people who populated his unit, like Ben Washam and Ken Virgins and Maurice Noble, and just all the people who worked together to create what we think of as the Chuck Jones brand.
Right.
And I think what he and his team were able to achieve is just unparalleled. Just the amount, like people are like, oh, he's so cutesy, but it's like, no, he's just like putting like a dagger into your heart. It's like he's just like mainlining you this feeling that's just like when Mark Antony thinks that Pussyfoot is being baked into cookies, like you want to die a little bit. You feel it. And the humor comes from his ability to communicate these very human emotions.
Yep.
And so I think I agree. I'm in the Chuck Jones club with you guys.
So, but this has been awesome.
It really has. It's so much fun to talk and catch up. I'm so happy. And thank you for inviting me to chat with both of you. I love cartoons. You know what? Like we could segment out each like little subject and do like another 5-hour podcast on each little subject.
Totally.
So in case you need more content, I'm saying this for you.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, is there anything that you're working on currently or that you want to talk about or that you have coming up that you want to talk about? And also, where can we find you online?
Oh, yes. What I have currently, I'm trying to get some of my own projects off the ground and finally, like, this is the year. No more excuses. Get it out into the world. And there's one project called Smorgasborchestra, which I'm excited about because it's a series I've been working on with a brilliant musician called David Ricard. He's not called that. That's his name. And he's created albums of awesome jazz orchestrations of classical favorites. And we've been like making a series of cartoons based on that. And the first one is up, and it's like music education, appreciation, and it's all mid-century UPA style. We didn't even get around to talking about UPA and how much I would. Yeah.
That could be a whole episode just itself.
Yes. And so that's one thing I'm working on. I'm doing live streams, and you can find me on Instagram as Joe the Zet, on YouTube as Joanna Davidovich, and my personal website is cupofjoe.net, cupojo.net. And like I'm all over, like collect platforms and like they're candy because I never know which one's going to be good. So like if there's a platform you like, just search Joe the Zet or Joanna Davidovich and I'm on there probably, maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah. But thank you guys again. This was so much fun.
Thank you. It was. For more information on our 3-day workshop coming up this summer, August 3rd through the 6th at the Highlights Foundation, visit cartooneverything.com.